Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the Para 3 lightweight scales that are available for the Para 3 lightweight. If you're thinking about buying them, don't do it. If you're thinking about selling them, definitely don't do it. In fact, the main reason why I'm making this video is because I keep seeing these scales trying to be sold either in various Facebook groups or on Reddit or on eBay. And it's become more and more frequent ever since the St. Nick's Para 3 dropped last week. And I'm telling you now, the reason why they're selling them is the same reason why you don't see these scales being sold from an abundance of dealers. And it's the same reason why I'm making this video. It's because they don't fit. They just don't work on the knife. And I'm going to show you why right now. Okay, so let's get started. So right here we have the Para 3 titanium scales. I believe they're from a maker named Henny. And then we have just the regular Para 3 FRN right here. Notice how well that drops in comparison to this. You also might hear and see the lock bar moving around. That should be enough right there for you guys to stop watching the video and just never ever buy these scales ever again. But we're gonna finish the video because, why not? Look at the lockup position. Look how far the lock bar is on the stop pin with the titanium Para 3 on the left. It is at least at 50% lockup, where the FRN one on the right is like at 10% in the normal position. So now I'm going to show you some other various compression lock knives from Spyderco, just so we can get a better feel. This is the PM2. Again, note the position of the lock bar. This is the Spyderco Para, and again, you can see the lock bar is still nowhere near as close to being at 50% plus lockup like it is on the Para 3. Now, the reason for this is because the lock bar tension is one of the three issues of fitment in this knife. In order to get the knife to move as poorly as it's moving now, like you see how stiff it is, so the lock bar is moving, yet the blade is still being compressed so far up against the scale of the liner that it's just not able to move. So let's try to loosen up the pivot, see what happens. Again, way too stiff. So let's try the stop pin, because that's the next logical step. Oh, it worked a little bit. Okay, so maybe we're getting somewhere. Oh, well, now we just introduced a bunch of vertical blade play. And we didn't even get any action relief. So let's see how far we can take this. Let's see what it's going to take for us to be able to get the knife to drop shut. So the pivot and the stop pin are basically all the way backed out, and it still won't drop. So right now I'm going to speed up the video a little bit because I want to see what it takes to actually get this knife to drop. So the scales are falling apart and the knife still won't drop. So now I'm going to open up the knife and show you guys why this isn't working. So the main reason why this knife just doesn't work is because the tolerances and the milling are just not up to spec within the side of the knife. There's 3 hot spots in the knife, and the 3 of them are the lock bar, the liner, and the pivot housing. Let's start out with the lock bar. Okay, so here we have the lock bar placed within the scale, and you can see that there is a good bit of play within that lock bar. Now, it doesn't look like much by itself, but if you were to compare that to how the lock bar sits within the stock Para 3 in the FRN scales, there's absolutely zero play within it. In fact, you almost have to forcibly press the lock bar into the scale in the FRN model. So that's the first problem. The second problem is the pivot housing. It's the same type of issue. It comes down to the fitment. But with the pivot housing, there's a good bit of play. And in a minute, I'm going to take a Sharpie and mark it for you so you can just see how much play there really is in this pivot. And it's one of the most frustrating parts because essentially you have to run that pivot completely screwed down, otherwise it's going to move like this. And finally, here we have the last issue. It is the liner. It has the same issue as the lock bar and the pivot housing. It just doesn't want to sit flush. There's way too much play. So hopefully this video reached somebody out there that was either interested in buying these scales, almost bought these scales, or maybe thought that they would do some type of titanium Para 3 hack by getting the lightweight instead of the G10 and then putting these scales on there. No, just go out and get the G10 version and then get some different titanium scales. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.